In the dim light of history, the word gladiator often conjures images of roaring crowds and fierce battles, where these ancient warriors stood as icons of bravery and strength. Yet, the reality of a gladiator's life was more often defined by discipline, repetition, and the quiet endurance of daily routines than by the clangor of combat. It is a life that unfolds not in the unforgiving heat of the arena, but in the measured pace of training and preparation, a testament to human resilience and adaptability. Join us as we embark on a journey through the everyday existence of these figures from antiquity. We will explore not only their moments of struggle, but also the rhythms and rituals that shaped their lives. As we delve into their world, we will see how these men, often bound by circumstance, navigated the confines of their existence with resolve and fortitude. If you find solace in the gentle unfolding of history, please consider sharing the time and place from which you listen, and subscribing to our channel for more thoughtful explorations. In the vast expanse of the Roman Empire, the spectacle of the gladiatorial games was a significant part of cultural life. Yet, the figures who fought in the arena were not always those one might expect. The gladiator was a person defined by a unique path, often dictated by circumstance rather than choice. In the quiet moments before dawn, as the city of Rome lay still, the gladiators prepared for another day. The paths that led them to this life were varied, a tapestry woven from threads of adversity and volition. Enslaved people, captured in far-off lands, sometimes found themselves thrust into the life of a gladiator. Conquered regions from the sprawling reaches of the empire contributed to this human supply. For these individuals, the transition from freedom to captivity was abrupt. The arena became both a stage and a prison, a place where combat was a means of survival and, perhaps, a rare opportunity for glory and recognition. The daily routine in the ludus, or training school, offered a new reality, yet one that was harsh and unyielding. Over time, the rhythms of training and performance became the only constants in their altered lives. Prisoners of war, too, entered into this world. Taken from battlefields, they were transported to the heart of the empire, where their martial skills were repurposed for entertainment. These individuals, accustomed to the discipline of military life, often adapted to the gladiatorial regimen with grim acceptance. For them, the arena was a different kind of battlefield, one where the stakes were personal rather than political. As they trained, the skills honed in warfare were subtly reshaped to fit the demands of public spectacle. Criminals condemned to gladiatorial service faced a unique challenge. For them, the arena represented a sentence, a form of punishment that was both public and personal. The crimes that led to this fate varied, but the outcome was the same: a life where survival depended on skill, strength, and the will to endure. In the structured world of the ludus, these individuals found a place where past transgressions were momentarily eclipsed by the pressing need for physical prowess and mental resilience. Yet, not all who donned the gladiator's armor were forced into it. Some individuals, driven by desperation or ambition, volunteered for the arena. Economic hardship was a common motivator, as the promise of financial reward and the possibility of fame offered a tempting escape from poverty. For these volunteers, the choice to enter the gladiatorial life was a calculated risk, one taken with the hope of a better future. The allure of the games, with their promise of glory and admiration, was enough to draw some into this perilous path willingly. The motivations for entering the gladiatorial world were complex and varied. For some, it was a matter of survival, for others a pursuit of opportunity. Each gladiator carried a story, a personal history that informed their journey into the arena. The transition from civilian life or military service to the regimented existence of the ludus was marked by significant change. The training, the discipline, and the constant presence of death in the arena shaped these individuals in profound ways. As they trained, these new gladiators came to understand the rhythms of their new lives. The days were punctuated by rigorous physical training, lessons in combat, and the ever-present reality of the games. Over time, the initial shock of their new circumstances gave way to a resigned acceptance. In this world, camaraderie formed between those who shared the same fate. Bonds were forged in the heat of training, as each gladiator learned to rely on others for support and motivation. The life of a gladiator was one of duality, public performance, and personal struggle. In the arena, they were celebrated or condemned based on their skill and luck. Outside of it, they navigated the complexities of their existence within the ludus. The discipline required to thrive in this environment was immense, and it demanded an unwavering focus on both physical and mental conditioning. For those who managed to excel, there was the potential for recognition, a chance to rise above their initial circumstances. Yet, despite the harsh realities of their lives, some gladiators found a sense of purpose within the confines of the arena. The structure provided by the ludus, while restrictive, also offered a sense of belonging. For individuals who entered this world through choice or circumstance, the arena became both a challenge and a refuge. The cheers of the crowd, the thrill of combat, and the ever-present possibility of freedom for the most successful provided a glimmer of hope amidst the daily grind. In the end, the life of a Roman gladiator was one of contrasts between servitude and glory, between the certainty of discipline and the unpredictability of the arena. Each gladiator's journey was unique, shaped by the reasons that brought them to the ludus and the experiences they gathered along the way. Their stories, while often obscured by time, continue to echo through history, a reminder of the complex tapestry of human experience that defined the gladiatorial world. In the subdued light of early morning, the journey to the ludus unfolds with a quiet inevitability. The training school stands as a formidable structure, walls rising with a certain stern dignity against the sky, their purpose clear and uncompromising. It is a place of transition, where the outside world slowly fades, giving way to a new reality defined by discipline and endurance. For those arriving, the ludus becomes both a home and a prison, its gates marking the threshold of personal autonomy left behind. As newcomers step through these gates, they are met by an atmosphere that seems to hold its breath, as if waiting to absorb the latest arrivals into its regimented embrace. The guards, ever present, are not simply figures of authority, but rather components of the system that maintains order and structure. Their watchful presence is unyielding, a reminder that the life now beginning is one lived under constant observation. The architecture of the ludus is simple yet deliberate, designed to serve its purpose with efficiency. The training grounds occupy the central focus, open to the sky yet enclosed by the surrounding buildings. These spaces are where strength and skill are honed, where each individual learns to navigate the demands placed upon them. Around this core, the living quarters and other facilities are arranged, each area contributing to the rhythm of life within the walls. The initial days within the ludus are marked by a gradual acclimatization to its routines. This is a period of adjustment, where the past becomes a distant echo, overshadowed by the immediacy of new expectations. The loss of personal freedom is palpable, yet it is a loss that is slowly absorbed into the rhythm of daily life. Here, the individual is subsumed into a collective, each person a part of something larger, yet each bearing the quiet weight of their own journey. Within these confines, the passage of time takes on a different quality, measured not by the whims of the outside world, but by the structured progression of training and rest. The days are long, yet they are filled with purpose, each moment a step towards the mastery required for survival. The guards, with their steady vigilance, ensure that this purpose is not forgotten, their presence a constant reminder of the boundaries that define this place. For those who enter the ludus, the loss of autonomy is gradual yet profound. It is a relinquishing of the familiar, an acceptance of new realities where personal desires must be tempered by the needs of the group. Yet within this environment, there is also a kind of freedom. A freedom from the uncertainties of life beyond the walls, replaced by the certainty of routine and expectation. It is a paradox that offers its own kind of solace, a balance between constraint and purpose. The landscape of the ludus is one of contrasts, where the harshness of stone and iron is softened by the human stories that unfold within. Each individual brings with them a history, a narrative that is woven into the fabric of life here. These stories, though often unspoken, are etched into the very air, adding depth and texture to the experience of living and training in this unique environment. As the days turn into weeks, the initial strangeness of the ludus begins to fade, replaced by a growing familiarity. The routines, once daunting, become almost comforting in their predictability. The guards, once seen as mere enforcers, become part of the daily rhythm, their presence blending into the background of life within the walls. It is a subtle transformation, yet one that marks the beginning of a new chapter for each individual. In the quiet moments, when the demands of training momentarily subside, there is time for reflection. It is in these pauses that the true nature of the ludus is revealed, not just as a place of physical training, but as a crucible where the mind and spirit are tested and strengthened. Here, amidst the echoes of past struggles and future hopes, each person finds their place, their role within the intricate dance of life that unfolds each day. The journey to the ludus, though marked by the loss of certain freedoms, is also a journey towards a new understanding. It is a place where the individual is reshaped, not just physically but mentally, preparing for the challenges that lie ahead. This transformation, though slow and often imperceptible, is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, capable of adapting and thriving even within the confines of a world defined by rules and routines. As the sun sets, casting its gentle light over the walls of the ludus, there is a sense of quiet continuity. The day may end, but the rhythm of life here remains unbroken, a steady pulse that carries on through the night. For those within the walls, the ludus is more than just a place. It is a reality, one that shapes and molds them, preparing them for the trials and triumphs that await beyond its gates. In the dim light of dawn, The sleeping quarters of the gladiators lay silent, save for the occasional soft rustle of straw mattresses. These shared rooms, far removed from the grandeur of the arena, were a place of simple necessities. Arranged in neat rows, the bunks were constructed from plain wood, with little to distinguish one from another. Here, the gladiators rested, their bodies weary from the previous day's exertions, yet already anticipating the rigors to come. The air inside the room was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of sweat and earth. Each gladiator was allotted only a modest space, just enough to stretch out and perhaps keep a few personal items close. Privacy was a luxury, unknown in these quarters. The men lived side by side, their lives intertwined by the circumstances that had brought them here. Yet, there was a certain camaraderie that grew from such proximity, a quiet understanding of shared burdens and silent hopes. As the first light of day began to creep through the small, high windows, the room gradually came to life. The transition from night to day was marked not by the chime of a clock, but by the subtle shifts in light and the distant calls of early birds. For the gladiators, this was a time of awakening, both physical and mental, as they prepared themselves for another day within the confines of the ludus. Rising before the sun was a practice rooted in discipline, a crucial aspect of gladiatorial life. The early hours were considered sacred for their potential, a time to gather one's thoughts and focus inward before the demands of the day set in. The men moved quietly, their movements practiced and efficient, each mindful not to disturb the tenuous peace that hung in the air. The conditions within the sleeping quarters were basic, yet functional. Each gladiator was provided with the essentials needed for rest and recovery. The straw-stuffed mattresses, though far from luxurious, offered a semblance of comfort after a day of intense training. A thin woolen blanket provided some warmth against the cool night air, while a simple pillow served to cushion weary heads. It was not a life of indulgence, but one of sufficiency, designed to keep the men in a state of readiness. Amidst these modest surroundings, personal belongings were few. A small wooden chest placed at the foot of each bunk held whatever possessions a gladiator might claim as his own. These items varied, from simple tools or tokens of luck to letters from distant family. Such things, however small, served as reminders of lives once lived outside the walls of the ludus, anchoring the men to a sense of identity beyond their immediate reality. The morning routine was a testament to the discipline instilled in every gladiator. Rising early was not merely a matter of habit, but a strategic start to the day. In the quiet solitude of these early hours, the men found time to stretch and ease their muscles into wakefulness. Simple exercises, performed without fanfare, helped to limber limbs and clear sleepy minds. This was a time for reflection and mental preparation, laying the groundwork for the challenges that lay ahead. As the light gradually increased, the outlines of the room became more defined. Shadows retreated, and the muted colors of the surroundings emerged. The walls, bare and functional, spoke little of the world outside. Yet within these confines, a unique community thrived, bound together by shared experiences and the unspoken understanding of lives lived under constant watch. The day began as it often did, with the subtle choreography of men preparing for the hours to come. The quiet exchanges between bunkmates, the soft shuffle of feet on the stone floor, and the gentle creak of wooden frames formed a symphony of understated sounds. Each movement was deliberate, each gesture calculated to conserve energy, for the day's demands would be many. In this environment, the concept of time took on a different meaning. The hours were not marked by clocks or schedules, but by the natural rhythms of daily life. The rising sun signaled the start of a new cycle, a reminder of the relentless passage of time and the continual need for adaptation and resilience. As the early morning light spilled into the room, the gladiators prepared to step into the routines that defined their existence. The shared spaces, though simple, fostered a sense of unity and mutual respect. In these quarters, each man understood his place, not only within the physical space, but within the broader tapestry of the ludus. This was a life of discipline and repetition, where every day began in much the same way. Yet, within this routine, there was a certain stability, a predictability that brought with it a measure of comfort. The gladiators knew that while the demands of their training were great, their lives were also governed by a structure that offered continuity and purpose. In these early hours before the sun had fully risen, the gladiators found a moment of peace, a brief respite from the challenges that awaited them. It was a time to gather strength, both physical and mental, and to ready themselves for the day ahead. As they moved from the quiet of the sleeping quarters into the wider world of the ludus, they did so with the knowledge that each day, though similar to the last, brought its own opportunities for growth and resilience. Thus, the morning unfolded gently, the promise of a new day woven into the fabric of their lives. The gladiators stepped into the light, ready to face the trials that lay ahead, their spirits steady and their minds clear. In the simplicity of their surroundings, they found the strength to continue, each day a testament to their enduring resolve and quiet determination. As the first light of dawn emerged, the training ground began to stir. The air was still cool, offering a brief respite before the heat of the day descended. Gladiators, roused from their shared quarters, assembled in the central courtyard. Here, under the watchful eyes of their overseers, the morning inspection would commence. The roll call was a ritual of order and obedience, a daily reminder of the structure that governed their existence. Each gladiator stood in line, their names called one by one, marking their presence. This simple act was more than a mere attendance check. It was a reflection of the rigid hierarchy that defined life within the ludus. The lanista, the trainer in charge, observed with a discerning gaze, ensuring that each man adhered to the rules laid down. Their presence was not simply expected, but demanded, a testament to the discipline instilled in every aspect of their lives. The hierarchy within the ludus was unmistakable, with the lanista at its pinnacle. His authority was both respected and feared, a necessary balance to maintain order among men who were trained for combat. Beneath him, various instructors and guards ensured that the rules were followed without deviation. The gladiators, despite their prowess, were subject to this unyielding structure. It was this hierarchy that ensured the smooth functioning of their world, where each role was clearly defined and every expectation known. Discipline was the cornerstone of gladiatorial life, extending far beyond the physical training they endured. It was present in the way they carried themselves, the respect they showed to their superiors, and the silence they maintained during inspections. The discipline was not solely about punishment or reward. It was about creating a state of mind that accepted the constraints of this life. For many, these constraints were a new reality, a life vastly different from any they had known before. The inspection was thorough, each man scrutinized for readiness and health. Any sign of weakness or injury was noted, though not always with sympathy. The lanista needed to ensure each gladiator was fit for the demands to come, both for their sake and for the reputation of the ludus. In this world, a gladiator was an investment, and their well-being, while secondary to performance, was still of interest to those in charge. For the gladiators, this was a time of silent reflection, a moment to prepare mentally for the day ahead. The inspection was not just a physical review, but a psychological one, a test of their ability to stand with composure under scrutiny. It reinforced their place within the hierarchy, a place that could only be altered by proving oneself in training and, eventually, in the arena. The hierarchy also extended to the relationships among the gladiators themselves. Seniority and experience commanded respect, creating a microcosm of order within their ranks. Newer recruits learned quickly to follow this unwritten code, understanding that respect and discipline were as vital to survival as any skill with a weapon. With the inspection complete, the gladiators were dismissed to begin their training. The morning sun now cast long shadows across the courtyard, a reminder of the day that lay ahead. The discipline instilled by the morning routine lingered, guiding their movements and thoughts as they prepared for the rigors of the day. This discipline, though strict, was a stabilizing force, providing a sense of predictability in a life that was often unpredictable. In this world, discipline and hierarchy were not just constraints, but a means to an end. They provided the framework within which gladiators could hone their skills, focus their minds, and ultimately survive. Without this structure, the chaos of combat might seep into their daily lives, undermining the very purpose for which they trained. As they moved to their next tasks, the gladiators carried with them the lessons of the morning inspection. It was a subtle yet constant reminder of their place within the world of the ludus, a world where every action had its place and every day began the same way, under the watchful eyes of those who held their fates in their hands. In the quiet routines of a gladiator's life, sustenance played a role both fundamental and unassuming. Within the walls of the training schools, meals were consumed not for pleasure but for purpose. The diet was one of simplicity, yet it served a complex function, fortifying the body, mending wear, and preparing one for the physical demands of their existence. The staple of a gladiator's nourishment was barley. This humble grain, ground and boiled into a porridge-like consistency, formed the foundation of their meals. Barley was chosen not for its taste, but for its ability to provide slow-releasing energy, crucial for endurance. It was a hardy crop, abundant and inexpensive, well-suited to the needs of those who required a constant supply of calories. The slow, steady release of energy from barley helped sustain the gladiators through their rigorous daily regimen. Alongside barley, beans made a regular appearance. Rich in protein, they supported muscle repair and growth, essential for those who trained hard and fought harder. Beans, when combined with barley, provided a balance of nutrients that supported the physical toil of the gladiators. Together, they offered a diet that was more about functionality than flavor, a reflection of the practical considerations that governed life within the training grounds. Vegetables, too, found their place in the gladiatorial diet. Often sourced from nearby gardens, they included greens and root vegetables that supplied necessary vitamins and minerals. These elements were vital for maintaining overall health, ensuring that the gladiators remained fit and ready for combat. The inclusion of vegetables highlighted a rudimentary understanding of nutrition, recognizing that a varied diet contributed to better physical performance. Perhaps the most curious aspect of the gladiators' diet was the consumption of ash drinks. These concoctions, made by mixing plant ashes with water, were believed to fortify the bones. The practice stemmed from the belief that the calcium and other minerals in the ash would bolster skeletal strength, a crucial factor for those subjected to the rigors of combat. While modern science may question the efficacy of such a practice, it underscores the lengths to which trainers would go to enhance their charge's resilience. Meals within the ludus were communal, taken in the company of fellow gladiators. This shared experience reinforced camaraderie, a silent acknowledgement of the shared challenges they faced. Eating together, they found a rhythm that mirrored the structure of their daily lives, a reminder of the collective journey they were on. The diet was not designed to indulge the senses, but to serve the body. It was a reflection of the utilitarian approach taken by the trainers, who viewed gladiators as investments to be protected and maintained. Each meal was a calculated measure intended to keep the body in peak condition, ready to meet the demands of training and combat. In this environment, the focus was on recovery as much as it was on preparation. The physical toll of relentless training required a diet that would facilitate healing and replenishment. The simplicity of their meals belied their importance, a constant in the ever-turning cycle of exertion and recovery. As the day drew to a close, the final meal was an opportunity to replenish energy stores depleted by the day's exertions. It was a quiet moment, a pause before the body settled into rest, ready to repeat the cycle once more with the coming dawn. In the life of a gladiator, nourishment was both a necessity and a ritual, a testament to the endurance required to survive in a world defined by discipline and routine. In the quiet hours of dawn, the gladiators stirred, each day much like the last, yet subtly distinct. The air was cool, carrying the promise of another day under the watchful eyes of their trainers. Within the confines of the training school, the emphasis was on physical conditioning, a methodical process rather than a hasty pursuit. The gladiators understood that their strength was not a sudden burst of power, but a gradual accumulation of effort and discipline. Strength training was foundational, a routine that demanded patience and persistence. The gladiators engaged in lifting weights, not as a singular act of prowess, but as a repetitive exercise to build a body capable of enduring the rigors of combat. Heavy stones and rudimentary weights served as their tools, each lift a testament to their commitment. Over time, muscles adapted, growing stronger and more resilient, a quiet transformation not visible in an instant, but evident in their increasing capability. Endurance was equally crucial, a quality honed through continuous effort. The training ground became a space where stamina was cultivated, step by step, lap by lap. Running formed the core of this regimen, a simple act of placing one foot in front of the other, yet essential in building the ability to sustain effort over extended periods. The repetition of movement, sometimes under the burden of weighted gear, was designed not only to test their physical limits, but to expand them, preparing them for the demands of the arena. Repetition was the silent architect of their resilience. Each exercise, each drill, was repeated until it became second nature, ingrained in muscle memory. The monotony of routine was not a chore, but a path to mastery. Through countless iterations, the gladiators learned to trust their bodies, knowing that each movement, polished by practice, would serve them when it mattered most. It was this unspoken rhythm of training that instilled confidence, a certainty that their bodies could respond instinctively even in the chaos of combat. The conditioning was not solely physical. The mind, too, was shaped by the steady cadence of training. Endurance was as much a mental attribute as it was physical. The ability to push through fatigue, to endure discomfort, was cultivated daily. In the repetition of exercises, there was a meditative quality, a focus on the present task that eased the mind into a state of calm resilience. This mental fortitude was invaluable, providing a quiet strength that complemented their physical prowess. Training with wooden weapons was another aspect of their conditioning, an exercise in precision and control. These practice weapons, heavier than their real counterparts, required the gladiators to develop strength in tandem with finesse. The weight of the weapon encouraged a controlled swing, teaching them to harness power effectively, rather than relying solely on brute force. This balance of strength and skill was essential, a delicate interplay that defined their capabilities. In the course of these routines, small changes quietly accumulated. A slight increase in strength, a marginal improvement in endurance, the sharpening of reflexes. These were the subtle yet significant shifts that occurred over weeks, months, and years. The process of conditioning was slow and steady, a testament to the power of gradual transformation. It was a journey of subtle progress, each day contributing to the gladiators' readiness for the challenges they faced. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the training ground, the gladiators continued their routines, each movement a step towards becoming more than they were the day before. It was a path walked with patience and perseverance, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who trained in anticipation of the arena. The lessons of conditioning extended beyond the physical, touching on the essence of resilience itself. A quiet strength built over time, tested and proven through the rhythm of daily practice. In a quiet corner of the ludus, the sun casts long shadows across the dusty training grounds. The air is filled with the soft thud of wooden swords meeting shields, a rhythmic percussion that speaks of focus and persistence. Here, the gladiators engage in a ritual as old as the arenas themselves, practicing with weapons designed not for victory, but for mastery. The wooden swords, known as ludus, are heavier than the metal blades they mimic. This might seem counterintuitive at first, yet there is a deliberate purpose behind the weight. The added heft demands greater effort and control, forcing each trainee to hone their strength and precision. By wielding these cumbersome tools, the gladiators develop the muscle memory needed to handle real weapons with agility and ease. It is a method born from the understanding that skill is crafted through repetition and resistance. The sun rises slowly, indifferent to the sweat and toil below. Each movement in this practice is deliberate, each stance carefully corrected by the overseeing lanista. The wooden weapons emphasize control over brute force, teaching that a well-placed strike holds more power than mere aggression. As the gladiators swing their ludus, they learn to conserve energy and maintain balance, essential skills when survival hangs in the balance. Through these exercises, the rhythm of training becomes almost meditative. The gladiators are taught to respect their opponents, to watch with keen eyes for openings, and to listen for the subtle cues of movement. This is not a place for unchecked violence, but a space where patience and observation are cultivated. The act of training with wooden weapons is as much about mental preparation as it is about physical conditioning. As time passes, the gladiators begin to move with more confidence. The weight that once seemed burdensome now serves as a foundation for fluid motion. The ludus, though simple in design, becomes an extension of their bodies, allowing them to explore the nuances of their fighting styles. Each swing, each parry, and each thrust is a lesson in the art of balance. The lanista walks amongst them, offering quiet corrections and encouragements. His presence is a reminder of the discipline and diligence that the life of a gladiator demands. Mistakes are noted with a nod, improvements acknowledged with a subtle smile. Under his watchful eye, wooden weapons transform into instruments of learning, their weight a constant reminder of the journey from novice to adept. As the sun reaches its zenith, the training continues unbroken, punctuated only by the sound of wood striking wood. The gladiators, now more attuned to their bodies, begin to feel the lessons embedding themselves deeper. The ludus may be heavier, but the burden of uncertainty grows lighter. Each practice session is a small step toward proficiency, a quiet accumulation of skill that prepares them for the day when the stakes are real. Gradually, the understanding that control matters more than sheer force becomes clearer. In the arena, where life and death are separated by the thinnest of margins, precision is a gladiator's greatest ally. The training with wooden weapons emphasizes this truth, instilling a discipline that tempers the wildness of combat with the clarity of purpose. As the day draws on, the gladiators begin to internalize the balance between power and restraint. The wooden sword is not merely a tool for muscle building, but a teacher of patience and precision. Each strike is a reminder that strength is nothing without control, and that true mastery lies in the harmony between the two. The practice field, with its dusty expanse and simple wooden swords, becomes a place of transformation. Here, the gladiators learn that their greatest weapon is not the steel they will eventually wield, but the determination and focus they cultivate within themselves. The ludus teaches them to harness their potential, to find strength in subtlety and power in precision. As the sun begins its descent, the day's training winds down, leaving behind a sense of quiet accomplishment. The wooden weapons, once burdensome, now rest easily in their hands, symbols of the progress made through dedication and perseverance. The lessons of the day of control, balance, and mindful movement resonate within each gladiator, preparing them for whatever lies ahead. In the gentle fading of the day, the practice field stands silent once more. The wooden swords now laid to rest have served their purpose, guiding the gladiators on their path to mastery. In the end, it is not the weight of the weapon, but the lightness of understanding that marks their journey. A journey defined by discipline, patience, and the quiet accumulation of skill. In the quiet corridors of the training school, the air is filled with the steady rhythm of practice, as gladiators come to understand the distinct roles they are to play. Each one enters the arena with a specific identity, formed not just by their own physicality, but also by the equipment they carry. This equipment is not merely for protection or offense. It becomes an extension of themselves, influencing every movement, every strategy employed in the circle of sand. Among the various classes of gladiator, Each bears unique characteristics, defined by the armor worn and the weapons wielded. The murmillo, for instance, moves with the weight of a large crested helmet and a heavy shield, a scutum resting on one arm. Their movements are deliberate, designed to absorb and then counterattack with a gladius, a short sword that must be used with precision. The murmillo's armor dictates a methodical approach, relying on endurance and strength, as each step must be calculated to manage the heft of the shield and the timing of their strikes. In contrast, the retiarius is lightly armored, carrying only a net and a trident. This lack of heavy armor grants them agility, allowing for swift and nimble movements. Their combat style relies on evasion and the strategic use of their net to entangle opponents before striking with the trident. The retiarius must be keenly aware of spacing and timing, as their defensive capabilities rest in avoiding blows rather than absorbing them. The absence of a helmet enhances their peripheral vision, a crucial advantage when navigating the chaotic dynamics of the arena. Then there is the secutor, whose equipment is specifically designed to counter the retiarius. Wearing a helmet with small eye holes, they face limited visibility, which transforms their combat approach. The secutor's armor is streamlined to prevent the net from catching, and their fighting style is characterized by relentless pursuit. They must rely on intuition and quick decision-making, pressing forward to close the distance with their opponent before delivering a decisive blow. Each of these roles requires an understanding of not only one's own equipment, but also that of the opponent. The gladiators train in recognizing these elements, learning to anticipate how different armaments influence movement and create openings. The Thracians, for example, with their distinctive curved sword, the sika, and a small shield, the palmula, must adapt to close-quarters combat, using agility to maneuver around larger adversaries. The equipment shapes not just physical tactics, but also the mental approach to combat. The gladiators are taught to observe and to predict, finding the rhythm in their opponent's movements and exploiting any lapse in defense. They learn that each class has its strengths and vulnerabilities, and that effective combat relies on understanding these nuances. The ability to seamlessly integrate this knowledge into their fighting style is what can tip the balance in their favor when the moment of truth arrives. Moreover, the training involves countless repetitions, ingraining each technique until it becomes second nature. This repetition instills a deep familiarity with the equipment, so that in the heat of battle, the gladiators' actions are reflexive. Each fighter develops a personal style within the constraints of their role, finding ways to express their individuality within the uniformity of armor and weaponry. The practice with wooden weapons, heavier than their metal counterparts, strengthens muscles and refines control. This deliberate burden ensures that when the real moment comes, the gladiators' movements are swifter, their strikes more precise. It is a subtle transformation, where countless hours of training quietly accumulate into a honed skill set, unseen by the audiences but crucial to survival. As the day progresses, each gladiator becomes increasingly attuned to their role, understanding the delicate interplay between their equipment, their own capabilities, and the strategies needed to face each opponent. They learn to embrace the constraints, using them to their advantage, and in doing so, they become not just fighters, but performers in a grand spectacle, each movement a testament to their training and resilience. In this world of sand and steel, the gladiator's life is defined by the constant balancing act between aggression and caution, strength and strategy. Through the disciplined repetition of their training, they come to embody the essence of their chosen style, readying themselves for the challenges that lie ahead. And so, as the sun casts its long shadows across the training grounds, the lessons of the day settle quietly into the fabric of their being, preparing them for the arena where each decision, each movement, will be a dance upon which their fate may rest. In the world of the Roman gladiator, injuries were a constant companion. Every day brought with it the potential for cuts and bruises, those small reminders of the vigor and risk that defined their lives. Yet, behind the visible marks of combat lay a system of care that was as careful and deliberate as the training itself. The treatment of injuries was not merely an afterthought, but an integral part of a gladiator's existence. The gladiatorial schools, or ludi, were not just places of training and discipline. They were also centers of medical knowledge. Within their walls, the art of healing was practiced with a precision that belied the brutality of the arena. Cuts, whether from blunted practice weapons or the sharp edges of real combat, were first attended to with careful cleaning. The use of water, often boiled to ensure purity, was the first step in preventing infection. This simple act, done with the utmost attention, was a testament to the understanding that cleanliness was key to recovery. Bruises, those deep-seated reminders of impact, were treated with a more soothing touch. Poultices made from herbs and plants, known for their anti-inflammatory properties, were applied with care. These natural remedies, passed down through generations, helped to reduce swelling and ease the pain that accompanied each blow. The application of such treatments was a daily ritual, a quiet moment of care in a life filled with noise and exertion. Broken bones, more serious and more complex, required a greater degree of skill. The physicians or medici who attended the gladiators possessed knowledge that was surprisingly advanced for the time. They understood the importance of setting bones correctly, using splints crafted from wood or metal to hold fractures in place. This process, though painful, was crucial for ensuring that a gladiator could return to training and, eventually, the arena. The Medici's ability to align and secure broken limbs was a reflection of their expertise, honed through years of practice. The treatment of injuries extended beyond the physical realm. Recovery was seen as a holistic process, involving not just the body, but also the mind. Gladiators were encouraged to rest, to allow their bodies the time to heal. This period of recuperation was not rushed. It was understood that healing could not be hurried. Patience, in this context, was not a luxury but a necessity, and the Medici were there to guide this process with a steady hand. Infections, a common threat to any wound, were approached with a pragmatic eye. The use of wine, known for its antiseptic qualities, was a common practice. Applied to cuts and deeper injuries, it helped to cleanse and protect, reducing the risk of further complications. This method, while simple, was effective, and its regular application was a part of the daily care routine that each gladiator experienced. The Medici were not only healers, but also observers. They kept meticulous records of each gladiator's health, noting the progress of injuries and the responses to treatments. This careful documentation allowed for a tailored approach to each individual's needs, ensuring that care was both specific and comprehensive. The relationship between the gladiators and their Medici was built on trust, a quiet understanding that each played a role in the other's life. The care extended to the provision of dietary supplements designed to support recovery. The inclusion of herbs and minerals, believed to boost the body's natural healing processes, was a common practice. These additions to the diet were subtle yet significant, helping to fortify the gladiators against the rigors of their daily routines. In the broader context of Roman society, the medical treatment received by gladiators was remarkable. The investment in their health was not merely a gesture of kindness, but a calculated decision. Gladiators were valuable assets, their strength and skills a source of entertainment and revenue. Ensuring their recovery was as much about preserving their ability to fight as it was about their well-being. This pragmatic approach underscored every aspect of their care. The Medici themselves were a crucial part of this system. Often slaves or freedmen, they possessed a knowledge that was both respected and relied upon. Their role within the ludus was vital, their skills ensuring that the gladiators could continue to perform, to train, and to live. In a world defined by the spectacle of battle, these quiet practitioners of healing provided a counterbalance, a reminder that even within the arena's shadow, there existed a place for care and compassion. As each day drew to a close, the Medici would make their rounds, checking on the progress of wounds, adjusting treatments as necessary, and offering words of encouragement. This nightly ritual, performed with a calm precision, was a testament to the ongoing cycle of injury and healing that defined the gladiatorial life. It was a reminder that even in a world of conflict and competition, there was room for recovery, for rest, and for the gentle art of healing. As the sun reaches its zenith, the training grounds begin to settle into a hush. The late morning hours have been filled with exertion, the air still carrying the echoes of wooden swords striking shields and the rhythmic shuffling of sand underfoot. Now, a different rhythm takes over, one of rest and recuperation. The gladiators, who have spent the morning honing their bodies and minds, find a brief respite in the midday lull. This is their time to eat, to rest, and to prepare themselves for the afternoon ahead. In the confines of the ludus, the midday meal is a simple affair. Bowls of barley and beans are distributed, hearty and filling, designed to replenish the energy spent in the morning's demanding routines. The gladiators eat in silence, each mindful of the need to fuel their bodies for endurance and strength. The diet they follow is carefully calculated, aimed not at indulgence, but at providing the sustenance required to maintain their rigorous lifestyle. As they eat, the atmosphere remains watchful. Trainers and guards maintain a presence, a reminder that even in these quiet moments, the boundaries of their world are firmly drawn. The ludus, with its high walls and vigilant overseers, stands as both a sanctuary and a cage. Here, rest is not just a physical necessity, but also a strategic pause, a time to gather one's thoughts and to reflect on the tasks that lie ahead. With the meal concluded, the gladiators seek out spots of shade where they might find some relief from the relentless sun. The midday hours in this part of the world can be oppressive, the heat weighing heavily upon the body and mind. In these moments, rest becomes an act of preservation, a time when the body slows and the mind drifts, unburdened by the demands of combat training. Lying upon simple cots or even the bare ground, The gladiators closed their eyes, allowing themselves to be lulled into a gentle restfulness. The sounds of the ludus are muted, a background hum of distant voices and the occasional clink of armor being mended. This is a time of quiet, where the physical world recedes, allowing space for the mind to wander, to sift through memories of past battles and to imagine the future that might await. In this lull, some gladiators may find a moment to converse in low tones with their comrades, sharing stories or reflections on the morning's training. Bonds formed in the crucible of shared hardship are strengthened in these moments of calm. The camaraderie among the men is a subtle yet powerful force, offering comfort and a sense of belonging within the rigid hierarchy of the ludus. Yet even in rest, the ever-present awareness of their status lingers. As living investments, the gladiators are closely observed. Their health and well-being a priority for those who manage their fates. The trainers, experienced and perceptive, watch for signs of fatigue or injury, ensuring that each man remains in peak condition. It is a delicate balance, maintaining the line between pushing the limits and preserving the body for the trials of the arena. The midday rest is not merely a pause, but a strategic interlude. It is during this time that the body begins to repair itself, muscles relaxing and replenishing, preparing for the afternoon's continued exertions. The body, much like the mind, benefits from these regular intervals of rest. This cycle of activity and repose is a fundamental rhythm, not just for the gladiators, but for many aspects of the natural world. As the sun begins its slow descent and the shadows lengthen, the call to return to training is issued. The gladiators rise, stretching muscles that have rested but are now ready to be engaged once more. The routine of midday rest comes to a close, but its effects linger, providing the energy and focus needed for the tasks yet to unfold. In this way, the midday hours serve as a gentle reminder of the balance inherent in the life of a gladiator. Both strength and vulnerability, action and rest, coexist in a delicate harmony. The constant vigilance and the brief moments of solace together shape the days, crafting a life defined by discipline and resilience. As the afternoon training begins, the gladiators carry forward the quiet strength drawn from their midday respite, ready to face whatever challenges the day may bring. In the structured world of the gladiatorial training school, life unfolded beneath a continuous, watchful gaze. The gladiators, though mighty in the arena, were bound by the constraints of their status. They were seen as valuable assets, their worth measured not only by their prowess in combat, but also by their obedience to the rules that governed their daily existence. The life of a gladiator was shaped by a set of rules as unyielding as the stone walls that encircled them. These regulations were not arbitrary, but were designed to maintain order and discipline within the training grounds, ensuring that each gladiator remained in peak condition. The rules were simple, yet their simplicity belied the complexity of their implementation. Each day began with a sense of purpose, dictated by the routine that was as precise as it was relentless. Punishments were an integral component of this system, serving as a deterrent to any who might stray from their prescribed path. Infractions, whether minor or severe, were met with swift justice. These punishments varied in form, from physical reprimands to the curtailment of already limited privileges. The knowledge of such consequences served to reinforce the strict adherence to the rules, creating an environment where compliance was not just expected, but ingrained. Freedom within the ludus was a rare commodity. The gladiators, though fierce combatants, were constantly reminded of their status as property. Their lives, dictated by the whims of their owners, were marked by a lack of autonomy that stood in stark contrast to the freedom they might briefly taste in the arena. Within the confines of the training school, every movement was monitored, every interaction observed. This surveillance was not merely an exercise in control, but a necessity for preserving the investment made in each gladiator. Their training and maintenance represented a significant financial outlay, and their owners had a vested interest in ensuring their continued health and performance. As such, the gladiators found themselves in a state of perpetual observation, their value as combatants underscored by the constant watch they were under. Amidst this environment of vigilance, the gladiators learned to navigate their lives with a quiet resilience. The restrictions imposed upon them became a part of their daily rhythm, an undercurrent to the more overt elements of their training. They adapted to the lack of freedom by finding small pockets of personal space within their confined existence. Moments of solitude, though fleeting, offered a brief respite from the ever-present scrutiny. Despite the limitations placed upon them, the gladiators forged connections with one another, bound by their shared experiences and mutual understanding of their circumstances. These relationships, though often formed under the watchful eyes of their overseers, provided a sense of camaraderie and solidarity. Together, they navigated the complexities of their constrained lives, finding strength in unity even as their individuality was subsumed by the collective identity of the ludus. The life of a gladiator, though defined by its restrictions, was not without its moments of subtle rebellion. Small acts of defiance, whether in the form of whispered conversations or silent agreements, allowed them to assert their humanity in a world that often viewed them as mere commodities. These acts, though minor in the grand scheme of their existence, served as a reminder of their agency, a testament to the indomitable spirit that lay beneath their disciplined exterior. In this world of surveillance, the gladiators learned to balance obedience with self-preservation, adhering to the rules while quietly asserting their individuality. Their lives, though marked by control and constraint, were a testament to their ability to adapt and endure. And so, under the ever-watchful gaze of their overseers, they continued to train, fight, and live, their existence shaped by the dual forces of discipline and resilience. Within the confines of the ludus, the life of a gladiator unfolded in a rhythm defined by routine and necessity. Here, surrounded by high walls and under the watchful gaze of trainers and guards, relationships among the men were both inevitable and essential. Bound by shared experiences, the gladiators formed connections that were as complex and varied as the individuals themselves. These bonds, born out of proximity and the demands of their unique existence, were marked by both companionship and competition. The friendships that developed within the ludus often provided a semblance of normalcy in an otherwise regimented life. Living and training alongside one another, the gladiators shared their daily struggles, victories, and setbacks. In the quiet moments between training sessions, one might observe small groups of men gathered together, speaking in low tones, sharing stories of past lives, or discussing techniques. These exchanges offered comfort and a sense of solidarity, a reminder that they were not alone in their journey. Yet, The nature of their profession meant that rivalries were equally inevitable. Each man was constantly aware of his standing within the hierarchy of the ludus, a status determined by skill, strength, and favor. This awareness fostered a competitive edge that permeated their interactions. Sparring sessions could become intense as individuals sought to assert their dominance or prove their worth to the trainers. These rivalries, though often fierce, were generally kept in check by the overarching discipline of the ludus. It was understood that while competition was encouraged, it must not disrupt the order of their environment. The shared routines of the gladiators served as both a unifying force and a reminder of their circumstances. Each day followed a set pattern, from the pre-dawn awakening to the evening meals. In this predictable cycle, the men found a rhythm that guided their interactions. The rituals of daily life, eating together, training together, and resting in the same quarters, created a sense of community. This routine, while monotonous, also provided structure, allowing relationships to develop organically over time. In the evenings, after the day's training had concluded, the gladiators would gather in the communal spaces of the ludus. Here, conversations flowed more freely, and laughter could occasionally be heard echoing off the stone walls. It was during these times that friendships were most visibly nurtured, as men shared not only their physical space, but also their thoughts and aspirations. The bonds formed in these moments were a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, even when faced with adversity. Despite the camaraderie, the looming reality of potential combat always lingered. Each man knew that any one of his peers could, at some point, become an opponent in the arena. This knowledge added a layer of complexity to their relationships, where trust and caution coexisted. The gladiators navigated this intricate web of connections with an understanding of the unspoken rules that governed their world. Respect, both for one another and for the life they led, was paramount. The role of the trainers in shaping these relationships should not be understated. These figures of authority, while enforcing discipline, also served as intermediaries among the men. Their presence ensured that rivalries did not escalate beyond control, and their guidance helped foster an environment where mutual respect could flourish. The trainers, having once been gladiators themselves in many cases, understood the nuances of life within the ludus and acted accordingly to maintain harmony. The shared experiences of the gladiators extended beyond the training grounds. Events such as festivals or special occasions were marked with subtle changes to their routine, offering brief moments of respite and a chance to celebrate together. These occasions strengthened the bonds among the men, providing a rare opportunity to reflect on their lives with a sense of unity. In these moments, the divisions of rank and skill seemed to fade, replaced by a collective acknowledgement of their shared journey. In the quieter times when the demands of the day had passed, some gladiators found solace in solitary pursuits. Reading, writing, or simply reflecting in silence allowed individuals to momentarily escape the confines of their environment. Yet, even in solitude, the presence of their peers was never far from mind. The relationships within the ludus were a constant, shaping each man's experience in ways both subtle and profound. The friendships, rivalries, and shared routines of the gladiators were a microcosm of the larger world beyond the walls of the ludus. Within this enclosed space, human nature was laid bare, revealing the capacity for connection and conflict, cooperation and competition. The men who lived and trained together were bound by their circumstances, yet each relationship was unique, reflecting the diverse personalities and backgrounds of the individuals involved. As the day drew to a close and the gladiators settled into their quarters, the echoes of their interactions lingered in the air. The bonds formed within the ludus, though tested and tempered by the demands of their life, provided a sense of belonging that was both comforting and essential. In the end, it was these relationships that sustained them, offering a measure of stability in a world defined by uncertainty. In the quiet confines of the ludus, where the life of a gladiator unfolded with the measured pace of training and routine, there existed a world beyond the ever-present walls. It was a world of public attention and fleeting connections, where the lives of those who fought were woven into the fabric of Roman entertainment. In the eyes of the populace, gladiators occupied a unique space, both revered and pitied, viewed through a lens of spectacle and fascination. The fame that surrounded gladiators was a curious phenomenon. Though their lives were bound by training and discipline, the arena cast them into the public eye, transforming them into figures of intrigue. Their names, whispered in the streets and echoed in the amphitheaters, carried a resonance that extended far beyond the confines of their daily existence. It was a fame born not from deeds of heroism or acts of virtue, but from the raw, visceral nature of their performances. Occasionally, letters would arrive at the ludus, bearing the marks of distant voices. These missives, penned by admirers or curious onlookers, offered glimpses of the outside world's perception of gladiators. Some letters were filled with admiration, expressing a fascination with the strength and skill displayed in the arena. Others were more personal, seeking to establish a connection with those who lived behind the high walls. Each letter represented a bridge, however tenuous, to the world beyond. Admirers would gather at the gates of the ludus, hoping for a glimpse of the men who had captured their imagination. These moments of contact, though limited, served as reminders of a life outside the regimented routine of training and combat. Gladiators, accustomed to the rigors of their existence, would occasionally indulge in these encounters, stepping into a role that was as much about the persona as the person. It was a delicate balance, maintaining the facade of strength while navigating the complexities of public attention. Beyond the letters and admirers, there were rare opportunities for gladiators to step outside the training walls. These moments, though infrequent, were cherished as glimpses of freedom. Accompanied by guards, they would venture into the city, their presence a testament to the allure of the games. The streets of Rome, bustling with activity, offered a stark contrast to the enclosed world of the ludus. Here, amidst the throngs of people, gladiators experienced a different kind of spectacle, one where they were both participants and observers. In these brief excursions, the boundaries between the gladiators and the public blurred. The men who trained tirelessly within the ludus became part of the city's tapestry, their presence a reminder of the games that captivated and entertained. Yet, even in these moments, the reality of their lives remained ever present, a silent reminder of the return to routine and the demands of their role. The fame that surrounded gladiators was both a gift and a burden. It offered a form of recognition, a validation of their skills and endurance, yet it also underscored the transient nature of their existence. For every cheer in the arena, there was the knowledge of the next fight, the next challenge waiting to test their mettle. The letters, the admirers, the brief moments beyond the walls, all served to illuminate the duality of their lives, caught between the demands of the ludus and the allure of the outside world. As the sun set and the city of Rome settled into the quiet rhythm of evening, the gladiators returned to the familiarity of their quarters. The echoes of public attention, the whispers of fame, lingered in the air, but within the walls of the ludus, the routine resumed its steady course. The day, with its moments of contact and recognition, faded into memory, leaving behind the quiet anticipation of tomorrow's challenges. As the days draw closer to the games, the rhythm within the training school takes on a subtly altered pace. The air, though filled with the usual sounds of activity, carries an undercurrent of muted anticipation. Reduced training sessions mark this period, a deliberate easing to preserve strength and focus. The clang of wooden weapons and the thud of sand underfoot become less frequent, as if the ludus itself is holding its breath. This shift in routine is not one of relaxation, but of careful conservation. The gladiators, accustomed to the rigors of daily practice, find themselves in a period of heightened awareness. Their bodies, finely tuned through months of conditioning, now require rest as much as exercise. This phase is not about building new strength, but maintaining the power already harnessed. Muscles, accustomed to strain, are given time to recover, their fibers knitting together in quiet preparation for the trials ahead. Inspections become a more prominent feature of daily life. Trainers and overseers move among the gladiators with a discerning eye, assessing readiness with detached precision. Armor is checked for any flaw, every strap and buckle scrutinized. Weapons, too, undergo careful examination, their balance ensuring they will serve their wielders well. This meticulous attention to detail is not mere routine, but a ritual of reassurance for both man and material. The rituals themselves, woven into the fabric of anticipation, provide a sense of continuity. These are moments of reflection, where the mind can settle, if only briefly, amidst the quiet chaos of preparation. The gladiators partake in simple rites, gestures, and words that connect them to a lineage of fighters who have walked the same path. Such rituals do not promise victory, but they anchor the spirit, a reminder of purpose within the uncertainty of combat. Anticipation, though subdued, is a growing presence. It fills the spaces left by reduced activity, whispering of possibilities yet to unfold. The gladiators, each with their own thoughts, feel its weight in different ways. For some, it is a companion, fueling determination with its promise of glory. For others, it is a specter, shadowing thoughts with the uncertainty that lies ahead. Yet, among them, there is a shared understanding of what is to come, binding them in silent camaraderie. The days before the games are a balance between rest and readiness. Meals, though unchanged in their simplicity, take on greater significance. Each bite is fuel, each sip a preparation for the demands to come. The body, though at rest, is in a state of constant calibration, adjusting to the quieter pace while remaining alert to the call of action. Sleep, too, is a valuable commodity, a refuge where the mind can momentarily escape the weight of expectation. During this time, the ludus is a world unto itself, a place where the outside world seems distant. Yet, the approaching games are a reminder of the connection between the two. The arena, with its throngs of spectators, is the bridge between solitude and spectacle. The gladiators, though presently enclosed within the walls of their training ground, are aware that soon they will step into the gaze of thousands. This awareness, quietly acknowledged, shapes their preparation in ways both practical and profound. The reduced training, inspections, and rituals form a tapestry of calm before the storm. The gladiators, each a thread in this intricate weave, move through these days with a sense of purpose. It is a time of quiet resolve, where every action, no matter how small, is a step towards the arena. The anticipation, though ever present, is part of a larger rhythm, one that carries them forward with steady, unhurried momentum. As the final days unfold, the sense of anticipation settles into a deeper rhythm. The mind, having processed the myriad thoughts of the past days, finds a quiet focus. The body, though rested, is ready to respond, every movement an echo of the discipline instilled through countless hours of practice. This harmony of mind and body, achieved through the careful balance of rest and readiness, is the true preparation for the games. In this quiet culmination, the gladiators stand on the cusp of the arena. The days have prepared them, not just through exercise and inspection, but through the quiet rituals of anticipation. Each is ready in their own way, each aware that soon they will step from the shadows of the ludus into the light of the arena. This is the moment they have been preparing for, a moment shaped by discipline, resolve, and the quiet strength that comes from within. In the dim confines of a gladiator's world, the days leading up to combat unfold with a quiet, intense focus. The air, though still and unchanging, holds a subtle tension, a sensation that is felt more than seen. It is a time when the mind begins to play its own games, drawing upon a reservoir of habit and learned responses to steel itself against the looming uncertainty of the arena. Fear, that ancient and instinctual response, is a constant companion. Yet, it is not the wild, unrestrained fear that leads to panic, but rather a slow, steady undercurrent that each gladiator learns to acknowledge and tame. This fear is met with routines, carefully constructed to foster a sense of control. Each day, as familiar as the last, is a series of practice steps, a dance of discipline that calms the mind through its very predictability. Habits form the cornerstone of mental preparation. The gladiators embrace repetition, not simply in their physical training, but in their mental exercises as well. These are the quiet moments spent in reflection, where the mind rehearses scenarios over and over, embedding responses deep within the psyche. It is a practice of envisioning the arena, the crowds, the opponent, each detail rendered vividly in the imagination until the unfamiliar becomes familiar and the unknown loses its power to intimidate. Psychological coping techniques emerge from necessity. Some gladiators turn to meditation, a gentle retreat within, seeking solace in the rhythm of their own breath. This simple act of focus offers a refuge, a way to center thoughts and emotions. Others find comfort in simple rituals, small acts imbued with meaning, whether it be the tying of a sandal or the arrangement of a tunic, each gesture an anchor in the swirling currents of anticipation. The mind, like the body, is trained to endure. It learns to compartmentalize, to set aside the future and concentrate solely on the present moment. In this way, the looming fight becomes not a singular, overwhelming event, but a series of manageable steps. The act of lacing armor, the feel of the sword's hilt, the sound of footsteps on sand, all are broken down into familiar components, each reassuring in its own way. As the day of combat approaches, the sense of community within the ludus offers its own form of support. Fellow gladiators, bound by shared experience, become silent allies in this mental preparation. Words are often unnecessary. A nod, a brief meeting of eyes, can convey understanding and solidarity. In these connections, there is a reminder that while the fight itself is solitary, the path to it is not walked alone. The anticipation is both a burden and a motivator. It sharpens the senses, heightens awareness, and, paradoxically, brings a clarity of purpose. For in the face of fear and uncertainty, a gladiator learns to find a certain peace, a detachment that allows action without hesitation. This mental state, cultivated through habit and discipline, becomes a crucial ally, enabling the gladiator to step into the arena with a mind as ready as the body. Through this process, the gladiator embraces a profound understanding of self. The days before combat are not merely a countdown to an event, but a journey inward, a test of mental fortitude that is as significant as the physical battle to come. It is a time when the gladiator stands at the threshold of fear and finds within the courage to face it, not with bravado, but with an enduring calm. In this quiet preparation, the gladiator becomes acutely aware of the balance between fear and courage, action and restraint. This delicate equilibrium is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the face of uncertainty, there is a strength to be found in the steady rhythm of preparation. As the arena beckons, this mental groundwork lays the foundation for what is to come, a silent promise of perseverance amid the tumult of combat. In the quiet prelude to dawn, a gentle stirring begins within the confines of the gladiators' quarters. The day of the fight, long anticipated, arrives with a soft inevitability. As the first light creeps into the barracks, the gladiators rise in unison, each movement deliberate yet unhurried. The air carries a sense of solemnity, the understanding that today is marked by ritual as much as by routine. In the cool air of the early morning, the gladiators gather for a final meal. The simplicity of the fare belies its purpose, nourishment to sustain the body through the trials to come. Bread, porridge, perhaps a few figs, are consumed slowly, thoughtfully. This meal is not just about sustenance, it is a moment to collect thoughts, to prepare mentally as well as physically. The familiar act of eating offers a semblance of normality amidst the weight of the day's significance. With the meal concluded, the process of armoring begins. Each piece is handled with care, checked and rechecked, as if to reassure its wearer of its readiness. The armor, a shell of protection, is donned methodically. Leather straps are tightened, metal plates are secured. The gladiator's body, now encased in this protective skin, feels heavier, grounded. The armor becomes an extension of the self, its presence both a comfort and a reminder of the arena awaiting them. As the gladiators assemble, their preparations complete, the air thickens with a palpable sense of purpose. The procession towards the arena unfolds with quiet dignity. Step by step, they move together, a disciplined line of warriors. The sound of their footsteps is steady, a rhythm that echoes softly against the stone walls. The path is well trodden, each step familiar, Yet today it carries a particular weight, imbued with the knowledge of what lies ahead. The path leads them through passages that open gradually, revealing glimpses of the world outside. The light grows brighter, the air subtly changes, carrying distant murmurs from the gathering crowd. The arena, with its vast expanse, looms ever closer. Within each gladiator, thoughts swirl in a measured dance of anticipation and resolve. The mind rehearses the strategies, the movements, the calm focus needed beyond the gates. As they near the entrance, the noise of the crowd becomes more distinct, a low hum rising to meet them. The arena, a place of both fear and opportunity, calls them forward. Here, the gladiators pause for a moment, a collective breath taken at the threshold. The world outside the ludus fades, leaving only the present, the sand, the shields, the spectacle. In this pause, time seems to stretch, each heartbeat echoing in the chest as a reminder of life and its fleeting moments. This is the calm before the storm, a serene acceptance of the challenge they are about to face. And then, with a nod, a signal, they step forward, leaving the shadows behind to enter the sunlit stage of the arena. The sand shifts beneath their feet as they cross into the open, a vast amphitheater encircling them. Thousands of eyes watch from the stands, a sea of faces blurred by distance. The sound rises, an indistinct roar that envelops them, a testament to the spectacle about to unfold. Yet, within this cacophony, a curious peace descends upon the gladiators. The world narrows to the essentials, the opponent, the arena, the task at hand. Here, in the heart of the arena, time holds a different rhythm. Each moment is stretched, examined, lived fully. The engagement with the opponent, the dance of attack and defense, becomes a language all its own. Each movement is precise, each decision deliberate. The training, the discipline, the countless repetitions, all coalesce into fluid action. This day, like others before it, is not merely about victory or defeat. It is about the performance, the honor of the gladiator's craft, the silent understanding shared between warriors who know the value of a well-fought contest. The sand becomes a canvas for their art, each step a brushstroke in the story they create. As the contest draws to its conclusion, the arena once again shifts in focus. The cheers, the silence, the outcome. Each element plays its part in the unfolding drama. For the gladiator, the return to the ludus marks the end of this chapter. The day's events, intense yet fleeting, linger in the mind, a tapestry of exertion and endurance. In the quietude that follows, the armor is removed piece by piece, the weight lifted from weary shoulders. The gladiator returns to a simpler state, the shell discarded, the self revealed. The body, marked by the day's trials, finds solace in the familiar rituals of care and recovery. As the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the stones, the gladiator reflects on the day. The experience, though singular, is part of a continuum, a life defined by discipline, resilience, and the pursuit of mastery. This day, like those before and those to come, is woven into the fabric of a gladiatorial existence, a testament to a life lived with purpose under the watchful gaze of history. In the subdued atmosphere following the arena's clamor, the gladiator returns to a world that feels both familiar and strange. The echoes of the crowd may linger, but the immediate concerns shift back to the mundane realities of life within the training school. Survival in the arena is a testament to skill and resilience, yet it is only the beginning of another cycle. In the quiet corridors of the ludus, the gladiator's body bears the marks of the day's exertions. Cuts and bruises, like silent witnesses, speak of encounters with both weapon and opponent. The journey from the arena to the treatment room is a well-trodden path. Here, the expertise of the Medici, or physicians, becomes evident. Despite the era's limitations, the understanding of wounds and their care is surprisingly advanced. Herbal poultices and careful stitching, alongside soothing balms, are applied to encourage healing. The Medici work with practiced calm, their knowledge passed down through generations. Restorative treatments blend tradition with the practical demands of gladiatorial life. Bones are set with patient precision, and salves are applied to reduce swelling. The process is methodical, grounded in the simple aim of returning the gladiator to health. Each action is a quiet promise of recovery, a step back toward routine and training. Once tended to, the gladiator is eased back into the familiar rhythms of the ludus. Injury, while common, is not a barrier to the continuation of duties. Instead, it becomes a part of the landscape, a challenge to be managed rather than an insurmountable obstacle. The routine remains unyielding, a comforting constant in a life marked by unpredictability. The return to training is gradual, dictated by the body's readiness to resume. Physical resilience is built through repetition, and so too is the path back from injury. Light exercises designed to maintain movement without strain are introduced first. The focus remains on recovery, yet the demands of future contests are never far from mind. Patience is required, a virtue cultivated over years of discipline. As the gladiator moves through these motions, the mind often drifts to reflections on the recent bout. Each encounter in the arena offers lessons, some more apparent than others. The memory of an opponent's tactics, the timing of a strike, or the effectiveness of a defensive maneuver, all are considered with quiet introspection. This reflective practice is as crucial to a gladiator's development as any physical training. Away from the noise of the crowd, the environment within the ludus is subdued. The camaraderie among gladiators is a subtle, unspoken bond, strengthened by shared experiences. Conversations are muted. The exchange is often brief, yet there is a mutual understanding. Each individual has faced the arena alone, yet the collective experience fosters a peculiar solidarity. As the day draws to a close, the gladiator finds solace in routine tasks. Armor is checked and repaired, weapons are cleaned and sharpened. These acts are both practical and meditative, allowing the mind to rest even as the hands remain busy. The rhythm of these activities is steadying, a reminder of the constancy amid the chaos of combat. Evening brings a return to the communal quarters. The atmosphere is one of quiet reflection, shaped by the day's trials. Meals are shared, the simple fare providing nourishment and comfort. Conversation lingers on the edges, a gentle murmur that underscores the shared life within these walls. The day's events may be recounted, yet the focus gradually shifts to the days ahead. Rest is both a necessity and a luxury. The body, weary from exertion, welcomes the chance to recover. Sleep envelops the gladiator, offering a temporary escape from the demands of training and combat. Dreams may be vivid, colored by the adrenaline of battle, Yet the overarching sensation is one of recuperation. In the aftermath of the arena, life within the ludus resumes its steady pace. The cycle of training, preparation, and combat continues, each phase informing the next. Survival is celebrated in small ways, marked by the quiet return to familiar routines. The life of a gladiator, defined as much by discipline as by conflict, unfolds gently against the backdrop of this ancient world. The gladiator's journey is one of endurance, both physical and mental. In the quiet spaces between training and combat, there is room for growth, reflection, and the subtle accumulation of strength. The days blend into one another, each contributing to a broader picture of resilience. Through injury and recovery, the gladiator remains committed to the path, shaped by the relentless rhythm of life within the ludus. In the subdued atmosphere of a Roman ludus, where the clatter of practice weapons and the echo of commands form a backdrop to daily life, the concept of rewards and reputation held a certain allure. Here, where each day was marked by the same routines, the promise of recognition and the distant hope of freedom offered a semblance of purpose. For a gladiator, the notion of reward was not merely about tangible prizes, but encompassed the intangible currency of honor and status within their unique world. The rewards for a gladiator were varied and could take many forms. Monetary payment was the most straightforward. Successful combatants were often compensated with a share of the purse from the games, a sum that, while modest by modern standards, could amount to a small fortune for those who were once slaves or prisoners. These winnings were sometimes accompanied by gifts from spectators who, caught in the thrill of the spectacle, might toss coins or other tokens of appreciation into the arena. Such gestures, though fleeting, were reminders that beyond the blood-stained sand lay a world that valued their skill and courage. Yet, it was not merely gold and silver that drove the men of the arena. For many, the greatest reward was a simple wooden sword known as a ludus. This symbol of freedom was granted to gladiators who had shown exceptional skill and bravery, essentially marking the end of their life as a combatant. Receiving the ludus meant that they were no longer bound to fight, a release from the cycle of training, combat, and recovery that defined their existence. However, such a reward was exceedingly rare, reserved for those who not only survived but excelled in the brutal crucible of the games. Reputation also played a crucial role in the life of a gladiator. Within the confines of the ludus, a hierarchy existed, subtly dictating the interactions and daily life of its inhabitants. Those with notable victories or renowned for their prowess held a certain stature among their peers, sometimes earning the respect of their trainers and even the lanista, the owner of the training school. Such recognition could lead to better treatment or a certain degree of influence, however limited it might be. Outside the walls of the ludus, a gladiator's reputation could extend much further, reaching the very heart of Roman society. Successful gladiators were akin to modern-day celebrities, admired and sometimes even idolized by the public. Their likenesses might adorn pottery and mosaics, and their names could be sung in the streets. It was not uncommon for wealthy patrons to support favored gladiators, offering them gifts or invitations to lavish feasts, a brief respite from the austere life of the training school. Yet, despite these rewards, the odds of achieving true freedom were daunting. The life of a gladiator was inherently precarious, and while some aspired to earn their freedom, The reality was that few ever did. The potential for injury or death in the arena was ever present, a constant reminder of the thin line they walked between life and oblivion. Even those who survived often found themselves bound by the very fame they had earned, valued by their owners more for their ability to draw crowds than for their individual desires. For some, the hope of freedom lay not in the rudis, but in the accumulation of wealth. Skilled and popular gladiators might amass enough money to purchase their own freedom, a prospect that required not only the accumulation of winnings, but also the goodwill and cooperation of their owner. This path was fraught with challenges, yet it remained a beacon for those who dreamed of a life beyond the confines of the arena. The elusive nature of freedom in gladiatorial life underscored the tenuous balance between reward and risk. For every story of a gladiator who achieved their liberty, there were countless others whose fate was sealed within the sands of the arena. Yet, the hope of such a reward was a powerful motivator, a reminder that even in a life defined by discipline and danger, there remained a glimmer of possibility. In the quiet moments after the roar of the crowd had faded, a gladiator might ponder the realities of their existence. With each victory, they edged closer to the rewards they sought, yet the path remained uncertain and fraught with peril. The promise of payment, the allure of reputation, and the distant hope of freedom were the threads that wove through their days, offering a semblance of meaning in a life marked by uncertainty. And so they continued, driven by the hope that one day they too might hold that simple wooden sword aloft, a symbol of freedom hard-earned and deeply cherished. Until then, the rewards and reputation served as both a balm and a burden, guiding them through the relentless cycle of training and combat, each step a testament to their resilience and resolve. As the sun dips below the horizon, the world outside the training grounds of the ludus falls into a gentle twilight. Within these walls, the day's rhythm begins to slow, and the gladiators move with a weariness that comes from hours of rigorous exertion. The evening air carries a hint of coolness, offering a reprieve from the heat of the day. Here, in the quiet moments, the echoes of clashing wooden swords and shouted commands gradually fade into the background. The evening meal is a simple affair, yet it serves a purpose beyond mere sustenance. Seated together, the gladiators eat in silence, each bowl filled with barley porridge, accompanied by modest portions of vegetables and beans. Their diet, though humble, is carefully designed to sustain their bodies, to repair the fibers torn in training, and to fortify them for the challenges of tomorrow. The food is fuel, efficient and unembellished, much like the lives they lead within these confines. As they eat, the men share the silent camaraderie forged through shared toil and mutual respect. Words are few, for the day's labor leaves little energy for conversation. Instead, there is a quiet understanding, a recognition of the collective experience that binds them. In these moments, the distinctions of status and background fade into insignificance, replaced by the simple reality of their existence as gladiators. With dinner concluded, some retreat to their sleeping quarters, where the straw-filled mattresses offer a semblance of comfort. Others linger a while longer, seeking solace in the relative peace of the courtyard. The night sky above is vast and unobstructed, a canopy of stars offering a distant reminder of a world beyond these walls. It is here, under the watchful gaze of the heavens, that thoughts wander to the past and the uncertain future. Fatigue seeps into their bones, a kind of exhaustion that is both physical and mental. The relentless cycle of training, the ever-present awareness of the coming contests in the arena, demands a resilience that must be constantly nurtured. Each man carries his own burden, a blend of memories, hopes, and fears, all tempered by the discipline instilled within the ludus. Pain is a constant companion, an unyielding reminder of their chosen path. The day's exertions leave their mark, with bruises and aching muscles testifying to the strain endured. Yet, within this discomfort lies a paradoxical sense of purpose. The pain is not merely endured, it is embraced, integrated into the very fabric of their existence. It is a testament to their commitment, a sign that they are alive and capable. As the night deepens, the gladiators seek rest, for sleep is both a necessity and a respite. The soft rustling of straw and the gentle sounds of breathing fill the dormitory, creating a rhythmic lullaby that soothes the mind. In sleep, they find a temporary escape, a chance for the body to repair and the spirit to recalibrate. Dreams come and go, fleeting glimpses of a world unbound by the constraints of their waking life. Yet even in rest, the discipline of the ludus remains. There is an order to their slumber, a routine that mirrors the structure of their waking hours. It is this predictability, this constancy, that offers a sense of stability in an otherwise unpredictable existence. One day flows into the next, each similar yet distinct, marked by the subtle variations of experience and emotion. In the quiet of the evening, reflection takes hold. Thoughts drift to the battles fought, both in the arena and within themselves. There is a contemplation of what has been lost and what might yet be gained. For some, the hope of freedom flickers like a distant star, a possibility that, though elusive, provides motivation and meaning. For others, the present moment is all that matters, each day a testament to survival and endurance. As the night wears on, the promise of another day begins to stir. The cycle will continue, bringing with it the familiar routines and the ever-present possibility of change. In this life of discipline and uncertainty, there is a quiet acceptance of the path they tread. It is a life defined by its challenges, yet enriched by the bonds forged in the crucible of shared experience. And so, the gladiators rest, cradled by the night, their minds drifting towards the horizon of sleep. The world around them sleeps too, wrapped in the gentle embrace of night, waiting for the dawn to signal the start of another day. Here, in this moment of calm, they find a measure of peace, a brief interlude before the cycle begins anew.